Hi, my name's Betty Gray, and I'm sitting in my kitchen in Berwick, Pennsylvania, which is part of Columbia County. We have around 67,000 residents here in the county. I've been told that social media is the place to be, and especially YouTube videos are the thing to do these days if you want to have your voice heard or your thoughts heard. And so today I thought I'd sit down because there's been some things on my mind, and I really wanted to share these with President Obama. Now, President Obama, I know that you're busy. I know you're busy running the country, and I know you have issues with the foreign affairs and domestic affairs and just being president. Big job, I'm sure. But I wanted to reach out and just say thank you so much for being bold and courageous enough to put together the Affordable Care Act. I know that eventually, down the road, it will save hundreds, thousands, if not millions of lives. But having said all that, I really need to voice some concerns with it. You see, about 10 years ago, I was running short and I needed surgery, and long story short, that whole thing started me on a path and a journey. And 7 years ago, ended up starting a free clinic in the county. And as of today, we've almost reached 2,100 patients, which is a lot. And I can tell you that the stories are tremendous. In some regards, they're atrocities when you think about it. If we were here talking about human rights, they're atrocities. We had people that really shouldn't have died, but they did because they didn't qualify for anything, and they were working hard and thinking they were doing the best and they were being the best American that they could possibly be. But in the end, no coverage. So the Affordable Care Act's been a positive thing. But I can tell you that it's not perfect. And I know that people are working round the clock to get it to perfect, but I am concerned. I am really concerned. A few weeks ago, I got an email from CMS. As you may or may not know, we are a champion for coverage at the clinic. I reached out to Bucknell University last summer and later to Bloomsburg University. That's my alma mater, where I got my bachelor's degree in biology. And after that, I went and became a respiratory therapist. So medicine's not really a stranger to me. I've been in medicine and have been dealing with it for a very long time. But in any event, we became a champion for coverage. We got people trained and staff, students, college students got trained. They were going to help our patients. So October comes along and we're all excited. And then the glitches, and then more glitches and more glitches and more glitches. And finally, I think January, February, we started to pick up some momentum, and we actually got some folks signed up, some of our patients and some people from the community, which is great because it'll save their lives. But my thoughts, and here are my big thoughts. A couple of weeks ago, as I was saying, got an email from CMS. And CMS pointed out that if somebody had signed up for dental coverage and then they didn't want it or they couldn't afford to pay it any longer, that they would lose their medical coverage. And so I have to ask this President Obama, is that not like throwing the baby out with the bathwater? I thought the whole idea here was to be able to get people covered. So, in the scheme of things, I'm not quite sure if somebody is unable to pay their dental premium, which may mean for us here in this rural area, that 17, 21 bucks could mean the difference between getting gas in our car and putting food on our table and keeping our rent paid. Versus getting dental coverage. And dental is very, very important. I know that and understand that. But to throw it all away because somebody couldn't pay it, to throw medical coverage away, I'm concerned. I'm concerned. So I'm reaching out to you and I'm asking you to please take a look at this. Take a look at this. Now, I want to go back to the clinic a little bit, and I want to talk about some of the patients. I sent you my book a while back, Death is Not an Option, A View from a Free Medical Clinic. I'm not sure if you got it or not. I know that things get intercepted, but I sent it with good intent, that you would hear the stories of what we've seen in the small rural clinic. Volunteers in Medicine's been around for a long time. It started in Hilton Head long ago by Dr. Jack McConnell. And as of today, I think we're almost at 100 free clinics that have started just kind of like by accident, or maybe not by accident, but we're started along the same lines as how we started ours here in Columbia County. Um, we were number 51 in 2007, and if you fast forward in 7 years, adding another 40 or so clinics, that's a lot of clinics. But I've watched as patients have come into the clinic. They don't have insulin, they don't have their meds, they don't have this, they don't have that. A lot of them don't have food. A lot of them have, attempted to apply for medical assistance, and they're $25 over. Unfortunately, in our state, Governor Corbett did not expand Medicaid. So when those same folks came back into the clinic to sign up for insurance, they were in for the shock of their lives that their premiums were going to be much, much more than what they could afford, and they didn't qualify for Medicaid. So there's this big swath of folks that, they just aren't going to be able to get covered. And I just want to say thank goodness that, the clinic is here and we can help. We don't get a lot of funding from the state, or we don't get a lot of funding from the feds. We can talk about FQHC, but that's another conversation for another time. Those antiquated regulations have stopped us from being FQHC, or federally qualified healthcare clinic. And believe me, I've reached out to my Senator Casey, and Senator Toomey, and to congressmen in the past, and to the state, and I've asked, but again, that's another conversation. What I'm really wanting to talk about is we need to fix the Affordable Care Act, and we need to change it. The website's very cumbersome when you think about it. There's a lot of questions in there, there's a lot of clicks that, for the people in rural Pennsylvania, some of them don't even have a computer. A lot of them don't even have emails. Internet, that's at the local library. So we need to really figure out, when this all gets rolled back out in November, how are things going to work? And I guess I should ask this while I'm talking. Why was enrollment not open for the whole year in reality? Why did we not extend the deadline past March 31st for everyone? If our whole goal in this country is to get everybody health insurance and get health coverage, why are we putting handcuffs on folks to get coverage? Why? And the glitches in the website, how much do we pay for that? I heard numbers bandied about that, it was over $317 million. Did we get a refund? President Obama, did we get a refund? If I were offering a product as a company and I didn't do something right, I would have to give a refund back to my customers. So did we get a refund from that contractor? I'm betting not. But all that millions of dollars that we spent, do you know how many people in our county could have gotten coverage? Do you know all those people that have died? I think it's 2 people in Pennsylvania die on a regular basis, every day as a matter of fact, because they don't have coverage or access. Now I know that, I have to work, obviously, and we all have to work. That's positives. But a third of my paycheck goes towards taxes, and when I watch as my taxes are being thrown away, when people are dying in the streets, that's unconscionable, and it's unacceptable. I know that, free clinics are not going away anytime soon. I also know I've reached out to offer some help to those that are putting together and refurbishing and redoing and coming up with a better, improved website. But there's a lot of us across the country that have and run free clinics and know and understand the populations we deal with. We deal with humans, and this is a human issue. It's time we really start to put our political differences aside, and we really need to start to make healthcare a birthright. Oh my, could you imagine that when you're born? That you're handed a Social Security card, but you're also handed the ability to have healthcare coverage. You know, I have two sons. One's 27 and the other one is 21. In fact, he's graduating from college in a couple of days. And I say to them all the time, if your generation does not stand up for what is right, this country is headed in a drastic direction that we're never going to get turned around. And that really saddens me. So President Obama, you have two daughters. You know, they're going to grow up and they're going to become part of the United States population, and they're going to do great things, I'm sure, just like lots of students across the country are going to do great things. But as Scott Pelley was talking the other night, I think it was last night on CBS News, he was saying that the literacy level in this country is poor, the math level in this country is poor. And then when you add on top of it the worry about health care, I don't get it. I don't get how everybody in Washington, D.C. can wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, I am doing what's best for this country, when there are people dying in the streets. Now, it may not be like other countries, like the third world countries, where you see folks literally lying in the streets dead, but I can tell you lots of families have been affected. So it's time to fix the website. It's time to fix the Affordable Care Act. It's time to bring medicine back to the United States the way it should be practiced. It's time to do the right thing. Now, I don't know if you're even going to see this, President Obama, but I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful that you'll see this. And I'm going to do my best to try to get it to YouTube so you can see it. But in any event, please stop throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I ask you to coordinate with CMS and HHS. Somebody has got to understand what's happening. Because you know what? In the trenches, it's not working. And again, I'll offer my expertise. But I've done that over the last couple of months, and I don't think anybody's really heard me. But I do it because, you know, I am just at the point that I'm not really ready and willing to see another 32-year-old person die because they didn't get health care coverage, or another 25-year-old person die because they can't get health care coverage. And, you know, I think about the poor woman that spent 20 hours trying to sign up and get enrolled. And, you know, we helped her along the way. And at the end of the day, she came back and she said, you know what, I want to pay my premium because I want coverage on May 1st. The insurance company could not put her information in so that she could pay her premium. And when I asked the insurance company, so what happens if she has an admission and she hasn't paid her premium? Does that mean that she's not going to have coverage and she's going to be responsible? And I look at the people that have worked for the United States government, they couldn't be identified. They couldn't be identified for 1 minute. They had to send their paperwork to Kentucky, and I know that paperwork's just laying in a pile. And in the meantime, they can't get coverage. So what happens to those folks? And I know it's not perfect, and I know that, and I will continue to understand it's not perfect. But for somebody that went to Washington, D.C., and stood outside the Supreme Court and protested in favor and came in front of nasty people who are against, and I went there with lots of naivete saying, I want people to be covered because I know they're dying, and I'm here because of that. And when I watch all this, it makes me cry. In all seriousness, it makes me cry. It makes my heart ache. And in some regards, I wish we had human rights, involvement, because this is really a human rights issue, as I've said. So, President Obama, at the end of the day, I'm reaching out to you and I'm saying, hey, I'm living in Berwick, Pennsylvania. I get this, and I understand it. And I understand what we should be doing. So, to all of Congress, please put these differences aside, because every day you wake up with the best healthcare coverage in the world. I don't know when I end if I should leave you my phone number or not, because I'm not sure you're going to hear this, but anyhow, it's been nice chatting from my kitchen in Berwick, Pennsylvania, and I feel a little bit better since I've been able to get my thoughts off my mind. Thank you, President Obama, for who you are and what you do, and all I can say is make it perfect. Thank you and have a great day.